Hey everybody, mel0n here, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be finishing up my review of the X-RayPad Jade and Obsidian Donuts skates. Now if you missed my unboxing and first impressions video, you can go check that out as I talked about the unboxing experience and installing them and that kind of stuff, but check that out if you haven't seen that already. Now these are a alternative, I guess you could say, to the previously released X-RayPad Jade and Obsidian Dots that do offer some minor differences in their performance and some improvements in some areas where the dots did kind of fall short in. Now before we get into the full review, I did want to say a big thank you to X-RayPad, who was kind enough to send out both the X-RayPad Jade and Obsidian Donuts out for me to take a look at. Thank you very much to them. As always with everything on this channel, I will tell you the truth about everything you see on the channel. I will not be unbiased regardless of a free or discounted unit. You'll always get the truth about everything you see here. As always, this video will be fully subtitled and timestamps will be available down in the description. Now, just to be completely transparent, I do have an affiliate code with X-RayPad, and now that's obviously not going to affect my opinions, as all my previous things I've reviewed on the channel from X-RayPad, I'm not going to be unbiased about anything. The only reason I have an affiliate code is if people want to purchase things from X-RayPad, they want to support the channel. X-RayPad is not paying me money to promote their products or anything like that. This is just an affiliate agreement I have with them, so no bias is going to be in this video in any way, shape, or form. Now, before we get into the video, a quick reminder, I am still working with MagicMind to review their all-natural productivity shots. I've been using them for around 20 days now. They've still been an amazing substitute for coffee or other energy drink sources, and these little bottles, despite them being so small, give me more than enough energy for my day. If you want to learn more about them, you can check out the pinned link in the video description and in the comments down below to learn more. And if you're interested in getting some MagicMind for yourself, you can use code mel0n20 to save some money off your first subscription box. Alrighty, now the X-RayPad Jade and Obsidian Donut skates are sold in packs of 32. The dots were sold in 40, so you're getting 8 less skates, but you're getting donut skates instead, so they're much larger surface area. They retail for $9.90 USD per set. Now, as you've seen with all X-RayPad products, if you buy them directly from X-RayPad, they're much cheaper. They're more around the $6.99 USD mark, but if you buy them from a third-party retailer like Lethal Gaming Gear, Max Gaming Gear, whoever it is, they'll be the full market price of $9.90 USD. Alright, now in terms of material compositions, the Jade and the Obsidian skates are made of the exact same materials we saw on the dot versions. So the Jade versions are the 100% PTFE and the Obsidians are the hardened PTFE, this exactly the same material makeup as the dot versions of these skates. Alright, now in terms of physical changes between the dots and the donut skates, the dots were 6.5mm by 0.8mm skates, whereas the donut skates, or the ring skates I guess you can say, are 9.5mm by 0.8mm. Now of course that 9.5mm is from one side to the other. It's not accounting the hollowness of the middle, but just to give you a rough idea, that's the rough size of them. Now dot skates did have this unique thing where you could kind of press them into a mouse pad to get more control of them. Due to their circular nature, they could kind of dig into the surface of a pad. But the only problem with this is that on mouse pads like the Infinity My Shogun, you can push the dots so far in, because they're just circular dots, they go right through. You can push them in so far where the bottom of the mouse pad will start to rub up against the mouse, which is a pretty big serious problem. Now the best way to counteract this is to add more dots to increase surface area and also increase control, but that also kind of negates the point of the dot skates entirely, because you want consistent X and Y performance, and adding more dots just kind of ruins that entire concept. Whereas with the donuts, because they're a ring skate, they have a lot more surface area, so they don't sink nearly as much into pads as dots do. So you can use the donuts on very soft pads where you couldn't use dots, which is a great improvement. On top of that, you don't need as many donuts as you did dot skates. From what I found during my testing, I would say roughly 2 to 3 dots felt the same as one donut skate, so you don't need to use nearly as many donut skates as you did dot skates, which is really nice to see. Also with this, it's also nice because instead of using, let's say, 8 or 10 dot skates, you can only use 4 donut skates, and that will have much more consistent X and Y axis performance as opposed to all the different dots with their different surface areas. Now I did want to clarify something here about the donut skates that I did say in my unboxing video. Now it turns out that the central Timbit donut or dot skate inside the donut skates is not rounded, it's actually just a flat 90-degree cut. So this makes them very scratchy when using them on softer pads. I thought initially you could use them as like a stabilizer, but they're very scratchy, and due to the 90-degree edge on them, you could potentially damage your pad by using them. You can potentially get away with them on harder pads, but you won't really need stabilizers on a hard pad because you're not pushing into the pad, so it just doesn't really make any sense. I really honestly expected X-RayPad to round these to use them as mini dots, but they are not. Hopefully X-RayPad will round them in the future, but right now these central dots are just useless. You can either leave them in the center of the donut or just remove them, or whatever you want to do with them, but that is a big downside to the dots because you're basically wasting a bunch of PTFE just for these circular parts that don't really do anything. Now, one other downside of the donut skates as opposed to the dot skates is because the larger diameter on the donut skates of 9.5mm as opposed to the dot 6.5mm, the donut skates won't fit on all mice. I ran into a couple issues specifically on my Death Adder V3 where the cutouts for the skates are actually around like 7.5 to 8mm thick, where if I installed the donuts on them, the donuts actually warp around the corners that can cause inconsistencies with the performance. So unfortunately, due to the size, the donuts really only work on mice with large cutouts like you see here on the Wise Owl Cloud. So that's rather unfortunate to see. It would be nice to see if these donuts were maybe just sized down a little bit. If they are more around the 8 to 8.5 millimeter range, they'd be perfect because they'd fit on all mice. But for a large variety of my mice, Pulsar, Razor included, and several other ones, I couldn't install the donuts in some of the skate cutouts because they were too big. So that is another problem. And again, if you install them in areas that aren't the right size, they're going to feel unbalanced or they're going to warp and that kind of stuff. If you're looking at getting the donut skates, make sure you have a mouse with large enough cutout space for them to fit. Alrighty, now in terms of performance testing, I'm going to do this exactly the same way as I did when I reviewed the X-RayPad Jade and Obsidian skates. So what I did is I just tested the Jade and Obsidian Donuts respectively against their Jade and Obsidian Dots on every single mousepad I own just to get a gauge of how the performance is. Alright, now when it comes to the Jade Dots versus the Jade Donuts, the Jade Donuts pretty much performed exactly like the Dots did, but of course due to their physicality changes, the Jades were a little more controlled, which is actually a very good thing, as sometimes the Jade Dots were a little too fast on some pads where the Donuts were a lot more controlled. But sadly, the Jade Donuts did still suffer the same inconsistency problems we found with the Jade Dots, where they were really only usable on hybrid and control pads. On every other pad type, they were just kind of inconsistent, and due to their PTFE nature, they wear very fast. Now again, just like I said with the Jade Dots, you can still use them on glass. They do feel actually surprisingly good on glass, but just because they are 100% PTFE, they're going to wear extremely quickly. Now, obviously, the Donuts are going to wear a little slower than the Dots will, just because it's a different surface area and the contact points are going to be a little different. But unfortunately, the Jade Donuts did still share a lot of the issues that the Jade Dots have, where they're only really super good on some pads, and they do suffer in terms of performance and inconsistencies on other types of pads, which is unfortunate to see. Alrighty, now when it comes to the Obsidian Dots versus the Obsidian Donuts, they performed exceptionally one for one, but of course, again, due to the larger surface area on the donut skates, the Donuts were a little more controlled and had better stopping power. Now, they work flawlessly on every single pad I tested them on: speed, hybrid control, plastic, glass, ceramic, you name it, they worked flawlessly. They have the same universality as we saw on the dot skates, which is really nice to see. Now, the Obsidian Donuts also performed exceptionally well on glass due to the hardened PTFE nature of them, and also the larger surface area did make them feel a lot more controlled, which is a big plus. But in my opinion, the biggest improvement from the Obsidian specifically, especially when using them on harder pads, is the audio feedback. Now, the audio feedback is probably going to be the biggest improvement coming from the Dots to the Donut skates, aside from, of course, the increases in the performance and the control on the Donut versions. Now, previously, the Jade and the Obsidian Dots, but more specifically the Obsidian Dots, because of their hardened PTFE nature, were very, very, very loud on glass, just because it's a hard surface rubbing up against a hard surface, and there was a lot of audio feedback from them. That did turn a lot of people off from the Obsidian Dots, specifically for glass and ceramic, just because there's so much audio feedback and made them very loud to use. But because of the circular, rounded ring design of the Donut skates, there's actually a huge difference in the audio feedback, so much so where it's like, I would probably say like an 80-ish% decrease in the audio feedback. There is, of course, still feedback. You still do feel the skates, you still do feel glass pads through the Obsidian Donuts quite a bit, and there is a little bit of audio feedback, but it's significantly less than there was on the Dots. So if you didn't check out the Obsidian skates because you were concerned about audio feedback, I'd highly recommend checking out the Donuts, because that is like probably the biggest improvement area. Alrighty, now another area I have to talk about here is reusability. Now, with the Jade and Obsidian Donuts, the Obsidian Donuts were very reusable, but unfortunately, just the Jades, for whatever reason, kept peeling away from the adhesive on the bottom. I'm assuming this is just because of their PTFE nature. Now, unfortunately, the Jade Donuts do have the same problem, where if you apply them and then you leave them on for a little bit, the adhesive sets and you go to peel them off, the skate peels away from the adhesive and leaves the adhesive on the bottom of your mouse. The adhesive does not come off with the skate, which is unfortunate to see. So the Jades do still suffer the same reusability issues that we had on the previous versions. The X-RayPad hasn't figured out a way to fix this yet. But on the plus side, the Obsidians do have the same reusability as the Obsidian Dots, which is great to see. Of course, eventually the adhesive will give out. They're not going to be reusable forever, but they're significantly more reusable than the Jade Donuts and the Jade Dots, which is great to see, in my opinion, just because the reusability is so much better on the Obsidians and they're more universally compatible. The Obsidians are still my favorite, but the Jades are still good, just you can't reuse them as much. Alrighty, now in terms of the final thoughts, I do think the X-RayPad is on the right track here with the Donut skates, because they do have a lot of benefits as opposed to the Dot skates, but unfortunately this version doesn't really feel that usable right now. I do like them, but it's hard to recommend them just because they're only good for some mice. Again, if they were smaller, maybe around 8.5 millimeters, and the central dot was rounded, they'd be a great recommendation for me, because you not only get the ring skate, you'd also get the tiny little micro dots as well. But in their current iteration, they're just not really there yet. Hopefully we're going to see a V2 of these from X-RayPad in the near future, where they can fix some of the downfalls of the donuts. Again, they're on the right track. I like the idea. It's a cool concept. just a little half baked. I think it just needs a little more time in the oven. If you end up getting the donut skates, just make sure you measure the bottom of your mouse first to make sure the donuts are going to fit in the cutouts. Again, just make sure you have at least 9.6 millimeters on the bottom of your mouse where you're going to put them, just to make sure you have enough space. But that is going to be everything for my review of the X-RayPad donut skates. Thank you very much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Again, as I mentioned before, I do have an affiliate link with X-RayPad. If you want to support the channel as well as getting some of X-RayPad's products, you can go ahead and use the affiliate link, but I will have a non-affiliate link version in the description as well. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel so you don't miss more reviews like this. I'll be covering the upcoming X-RayPad Obsidian Pros as well as some of the future X-RayPad products as well, so be sure to get subscribed so you don't miss that. And if you'd like to support the channel, the best way to support the channel is to become a member here over on YouTube. Members get their names shouted out at the end of videos in a little credit section, as well as you're directly supporting the channel. So if you like what I'm doing here and you want to help me get more products to cover on the channel and fund the teardown project, all your support is greatly appreciated. If you like the idea of the X-RayPad Jade and Obsidian skates, but you don't really like the idea of donuts, you can go ahead and check out my review of the X-RayPad Obsidian Dots. Those are my personal favorite dot skates I've been using for quite a long time now, and I highly recommend those. Thank you again to X-RayPad for sending out the X-RayPad Jade and Obsidian Dots for me to take a look at. I greatly appreciate it, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.
Existence.